Kicking off January 23rd, Thursday, House Government Operations and Military Affairs. We have some more introductions from various departments, associations, boards, and such today, and a security briefing later on. But before we do that, budget adjustment is happening. Appropriations is building that, and they wanted to know what the requests were from the various committees. This committee only has one request, and that is from the Vermont RPCs, the gentleman who came in last Friday and introduced themselves, Charlie Baker, Adam Luigi, the organization that they represent. The request is for $155,000. And it was to just sort of backfill, it's to restore a cut that they received previously, but they still feel that there is an operational need for the RPCs for that $155,000. So Representative Hango, myself, Representative Waters Evans feel like that is a perfectly reasonable ask to submit. It is the only one that we would be sending from this committee. And we just wanted to check in with everybody to see if you all found that request amenable. So.
Or any questions?
Questions? Yeah. BAA budget request, $155,000, the statewide RPC organization. It is the only request coming from us for BAA. The three of us are comfortable with it. We're just speaking to the committee right now to see if there's any reservations or questions.
Not at this juncture.
All right. There is more time. This is merely the request going to them. They're still doing their work. I believe the BAA schedule still probably has about 10 days worth of legislative legs to it. So this is merely us helping them fill in their spreadsheet. So I guess we'll do a straw poll on that one for formalities. So those in favor of supporting the $155,000 RPC request in budget adjustment, hands up.
Okay.
And opposed. And one absent.
0-1 straw poll. Thank you very much.
That's right. That's considered a straw poll for those who remember.
Yes, that is straw polling. That is a formally informal vote. Yes.
Which is a practice we should keep to a limit.
Yeah, there's no reason to call a roll on that. Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
But roads, catchment.
Okay.
You could always.
that was more of a recommendation. Less of a vote. Anywho, all right. So we're gonna kick things off. Wow. Hi, Coffee. Could you start working now? With the Office of Racial Equity, we have Executive Director Susanna Davis joining us via Zoom. And it looks like she got some tea. How are you? Good to see you again, Director.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here with you all. For the record, Susanna Davis, Executive Director of Racial Equity for the state.
You're a little choppy
Okay.
on the connection.
And
I am going
video.
to make one technology change. I appreciate your patience.
Oh, take your time.
Okay. Saying some words. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Please let me know if this is any better. If it's still choppy, then I can go off camera. You already know what I look like.
No, this actually is working much more effectively. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. People think I'm joking when I say this, but it really is us against the robots, and I am determined to be the victor in this. Okay.
You and I should talk sometime.
Well, good morning. Thank you all very much for having me. I am really pleased to be here today and just tell you a little bit about our office. It's nice to see many of you are familiar faces, so you have already become acquainted with our office. But for anyone new or for any of your viewers who may be interested, I'd love to give a quick overview of the Office of Racial Equity. This committee is not a stranger to the office because, of course, it was the GovOps committees through which the director position was originally created. That was done by an act of the legislature in 2018. I was first appointed in the summer of 2019, and so I'm coming up, I think, on about 5.5, 6 years in the position. Since then, we have become a team of 7, and it seems that despite the added and much needed assistance, the workload never seems to right size. It seems that we are always behind and there's always such a high need, not just from colleagues around state government, but also from members of the community and even from peers in other jurisdictions who are looking at our example and looking to replicate some of the things that we've done. So we're very proud of that. And we're very eager to be able to demonstrate to you all and to the community the impact that we've had and that we want to continue to have. So the mandate in Act 9 of the special session of 2018, that actually created our position and later our office under 3 VSA 1512. And the mandate is to identify systemic racism in all 3 branches of state government. Step 2 is to oversee the collection of race data, to develop and deliver trainings, to develop performance targets and metrics with the Chief Performance Office. We now also have the Division of Racial Justice Statistics. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue fluidly, but we're working on it. We affectionately refer to it as the DRJS. That is a smaller unit within our office that is tasked with collecting, analyzing, and reporting on data specific to the justice system. Now, because you all are GovOps, you have a portfolio that includes a lot of different things. You, of course, deal with issues of employment, rules, and the other ways that government carries out its business. And because of that, you all end up touching on different topics. Our office is much the same. We can't talk about something like, just as an example, recidivism rates without also talking about housing instability. So the work of racial equity is truly interconnected. And for that reason, our Division of Racial Justice Statistics, yes, is focused on the justice system, but we like to look at upstream factors in other sectors and areas that are contributing to those outcomes. So you'll also see our Division of Racial Justice Statistics dabbling in information regarding housing, education, employment, etc. So in that way, we try to take a really holistic approach to the work that we do. And some of the interactions that you all may remember having with us include things like statewide language access planning, changes to the way in which Vermont recruits and retains employees, looking at things like law enforcement practices, policing, the Criminal Justice Council, etc. So these are all touch points that you may have with us throughout the session. In order to do the work that we do, we're guided by a vision and a set of values that are very important to us. That vision is threefold. First, we envision a Vermont that treats its employees, contractors, vendors, and partners equitably and inclusively. And that doesn't just mean wage equity, pay parity, those are extremely important, but it also means things like equitable representation in leadership and decision-making. The second part of that vision is that the state treats members of the public equitably and inclusively in its provision of services. And the third is that the state creates holistic systems that make those first 2 things autopilot. So basically, our vision is treat our people right, treat the public right, make our systems work to make those first 2 things easy. We operate from a lot of values, but there are 3 that we keep coming back to over and over again. The first of those is process equity alongside outcomes equity. It means not just making sure that we arrive at the right conclusion, but making sure that we got there in a way that was inclusive and just. The second is structural solutions for structural problems, not individual solutions for structural problems. Oftentimes, we expect people from historically oppressed groups to bootstrap their way individually out of a situation where the deck is stacked against them. Instead, we're looking really at systems level change so that we don't have to expect individual people to try to escape circumstances that we could address as state government. The third value that we keep coming back to is transformative change over transactional change. So not just seeking to make one individual problem or complainant go away, but really looking again holistically at systems and making sure that we're able to create good outcomes for everybody, not just the people who are the loudest, squeakiest wheels. Going by this vision and these values is extremely important to us. As we've seen from this week, changes in leadership at all levels of government can throw a wrench in, is really a tremendous understatement for what we're seeing these last few days, but can make or break the work that we're doing. And so having a guiding star that we go by that withstands changes in leadership, that withstands the test of time is important to us. And it also helps us to ensure that we are being mission driven. A lot of people don't see government as mission driven. We beg to differ. It's tremendously important. So that's who we are. We have, of course, an executive director, that is me. We have an education and outreach director. That person is our point on things like training, education, interaction with members of the public, receiving and routing complaints and inquiries, etc. We have a policy and research analyst. You all were familiar with the policy and research analyst we had last year. We have a new staff person in that role, and that is going to be someone with whom you'll interact. Her name is Angela, and you will likely see her around the halls or perhaps in the committee room with you at some point. We also have we have an administrative and project coordinator. That person is the centralized coordinator who's helping us to roll out the statewide language access plan that we discussed in 2023-4 with you all. And then we have, of course, our Division of Racial Justice Statistics. Those are the people who are really good at math on our team, and they are focused on justice system outcomes. We are, of course, incorporated into the executive branch in terms of the org chart, but by statute and by choice, we work across all three branches of government. We see ourselves as your advisors. We are at your service. And it's extremely important to me that you see us that way as well. We rely on legislators to have a shared understanding of the issues as they deliberate on topics that come before them. And it is our job and our privilege to be able to help, whether it's to help educate you on some of the equity implications of the things that you're taking up, or just to help you talk through some of the issues. Maybe that means looking at what models from other jurisdictions have worked well, learning what are the pitfalls to avoid when thinking about a particular policy matter, or just understanding how to engage better with impacted populations. Whatever the case is, if you have feedback, insight, questions, or concerns, we really, really encourage you to come to us. We can just chat formally or informally, because it's more important to us that we get the work done right, not just that we get it done fast. And I know you all are familiar, once you get into close to that first week of March, everybody starts panicking. And it's our hope that part of that panic doesn't include us rushing through things that are going to be inequitable or unjust because we're trying to meet a time crunch. I will stop there. I thank you for your time. I welcome any questions that you might have.
So Director, no, thank you for that great baseline right there. So we actually have a shockingly small amount of bills on our wall right now. So I wasn't sure, or I wanted to ask you if you were aware of anything that was coming to committee via other members, or if there were any policy considerations that you would like to speak to briefly right now, just so we could start to marinate on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if all of these will touch your committee, but I'll just mention a few and that way you'll be on notice. The first thing that I'll actually mention is that in my annual report last year, not the one that was submitted this month, but the one that was submitted a year ago, I included what I referred to as a 5-year look back, which is a compendium of recommendations and policy proposals that came out of my office over the previous 5 years that I had been in the role. I would strongly encourage the committee to go back and look at that. It contains a lot of items that I think this committee would be willing to take up. And I think it's an important accounting of what opportunities exist for the state that we just haven't acted on yet. So that's the first thing that I would do. And I'd be happy to come and give an overview if that would be helpful. Aside from that, there are a few. You'll have to forgive me. I know that the Senate counterpart to this committee does take up issues of things like law enforcement. Is your committee also going to be handling those sorts of things like data collection? And okay.
Public safety is our jurisdiction. Yes.
Got it. So then in that case, one thing that you may see is a proposal that we had. Personally, I see this as a no-brainer, a very easy lift. In 2020, we asked the VSP to implement a minimum model policy on how to handle religious head coverings during the bookings process. They implemented it. It's great. We're having a great time. And it's now our desire that we create a standard for all law enforcement agencies around the state to adhere at a minimum to that policy that we established at the state level. I see this as no cost at worst, and at best as a minimal cost if we're able to help subsidize the cost of disposable things like disposable hijab, which you may not have known existed, but they do. Things like that help to not only help humanize the state and respect people's dignity, but they also are going to save us from things like First Amendment lawsuits when we violate people's civil liberties because we don't know how to handle religious garb. So that's one that you will likely see hopefully in the coming weeks. Another one that I know has been assigned to your committee is H3, which has to do with educational and experience minimum qualifications for state service. This is a topic that our office has advised other colleagues around the state on a lot, so we would be really eager to address the committee on it when the time comes. I know it's currently a short form, so when you all do take it up, we would love to come in on that.
That is definitely going to be on our conversational punch list. So definitely plan on coming in on that one.
Excellent. And then I think that there are just a few other things. Our office has been engaged in an inquest with the Department of Human Resources around pay parity. We have requested data and are looking to do an evaluation of whether and to what degree there are disparities between similarly situated state employees in terms of compensation. There are a lot of moving pieces to that, and we've discovered a lot of somewhat surprising shortcomings in the way that data are kept. So our project has changed in scope and size since we started it, but we are eager to complete it. And so eventually when we do have findings, we would love to come and share those with you as well. Those are some things on the radar. But again, I do point the committee to last year's 5-year look back. I think it's really rich with proposals, and I don't want to lose the thread on those.
You know, that is a great point. I mean, this General Assembly has a tendency of asking for reports and not thoroughly reviewing and digesting them. So I appreciate that, and we are definitely going to take a peek at that. And I see the ranking member already has it on our screen. So
I was looking at some stuff.
yeah, so
Got
we
some
will
ideas.
certainly do that. Yeah. Any questions from other folks at the table? Does not appear so. You know, this is really what we were hoping to do today, just an introduction for new members. A hello, how have you been for returning members and yourself? And really just, I wanted to get a sense of, you know, a couple of items that were on your radar. So, I mean, that felt pretty expedient and efficient. So unless you have anything else for us, Director, I think we are good for the moment.
I have one more thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to this committee that, unsurprisingly, the work of this office is going to be made even more arduous than it already is because of what is coming out of Washington. And I think that there are a lot of people in our state who have a false sense of security and who think that we won't be affected because we have enough people here who think differently. But the reality is that if there's one thing that the federal government is good at in this country, It's manipulating funding and other forms of policy in order to gain compliance from states, from not-for-profits, from municipalities. And so it's important to us that we outwardly and explicitly reaffirm our commitment to these principles of justice that the state claims to hold. It's easy for us to say that right now in the, what is this, third week of session. But when we start having crossover conversations, when we start having money conversations, when we start, what is everyone's favorite phrase, having to make hard choices, this is where we're really going to demonstrate whether we do hold those values or whether we're all talk. And I choose to believe that Vermont is not all talk. So I think as you all and your colleagues in other committees are confronted with decisions about whether and how we support Vermont's communities of color, low-income communities, people living with disabilities, and other people who've been historically marginalized, I want to see us succeed. And so I just want to reiterate again, please see me as an advisor to you. I want to assist however we can. So please don't hesitate to let us know how we can be of assistance.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think that is a wonderful point to make, given the moment that we're living in right now. This snapshot in time is unique and giving a lot of people, including folks here, whatever, citizens throughout, residents throughout the state, a bit of a consternation. So I absolutely understand what you're saying and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a wonderful morning. Appreciate the time.
You too. Thank you all.
All right. A couple of minutes and we will have
Steve Howard.
Steve Howard for the state employees. What do we got? 5 minutes. Autumn, take us off at 5. Thank you.